Hey guys, how's it going? On my way to work this morning, and I wanted to go over. I want to make sure you guys are informed of or tracking. But last night, Israel Adesanya put on a very clinical performance when he competed against Brad Tavares, beating him by unanimous decision, getting 150-45 and 49-46 on the other two scorecards. Israel Adesanya has pretty much showed everybody that he's real, that he is out there doing what it takes to make a claim that he should be somewhere within the top 10 space, maybe even top. Brad Tavares had a hard time dealing with the reach of Israel Adesanya. He got a couple takedowns, but Israel was able to get up, and he showed people a lot of surprising things that anything he had in his game. Typically a triangle attempt and a Kimura sweep position where he was in the back, up on top and getting back to his feet. A lot of these guys, man, you just assume because they come from these kickboxing backgrounds, traditional striking backgrounds, that they're not working on their jiu-jitsu or their wrestling or anything like that to make it them better as overall mixed martial artists. I think Israel put people on notice with a lot of these things that he doesn't know how to just defend takedowns, but if the opportunity presents itself, he will be able to try to throw up submissions, or he will be able to use a skill to be able to get back up to his feet like he had shown in other previous fights. And he was able to stick behind the jab, throw some kicks to keep Brad Tavares at range, which forced him to come in and try to clinch with him so he could try to look for the takedowns. The couple that Brad got, he wasn't able to do much with, and Israel was able to get back to his feet and pick him apart. He also did get one of the rare performance bonuses that the UFC offers for fighters, and he actually didn't get the finish. Can't really remember when the last time that happened where a guy put such a masterful performance on that the UFC decided he was worth giving 50K to, even though he didn't finish the guy. Because Brad Tavares is a very tough guy. He was riding a 4-fight win streak, and it did say that he did have a foot injury going into the fight. When nobody knows how true that is or not. I hope Brad doesn't bring that up as a reason why he didn't have movement like he needed to have within the fight, because you want to show up for these guys, fighting them the best way you can and the best style you can. And if you can't get the job done, in my personal opinion, I believe that he needed to step off, let Thiago Santos, the backup for it, let him fight him. Thiago Santos was in shape, ready to go, because we need to get a real good look at how Israel does. A lot of problems that Brad was having in the fight when he was coming in. He was trying to set up these takedowns in kickboxing range, and I don't think that Brad Tavares is a traditional wrestler. He's just a good guy who can mix everything up together. He's been in the UFC for a really long time, I believe 10 years or so. So he's able to mix up a lot of things fairly well in regards to his takedowns. But wrestlers, you never want to set up a takedown where you cannot actually land a lot of good strikes on the guy, or not good strikes, but you can't shoot a good single or double leg attempt where you can try to get at least your hands on the back of their legs to be able to set up the clinch or place a head on the side or anything like that. The farther you shoot from the outside gives a guy the opportunity to recognize what's happening and defend the takedown by any means necessary, whether it's getting the head back or circling away or things like that. All shout outs to Israel Adesanya. I wasn't really high on him in this fight because he did have over 80 kickboxing fights coming over to MMA, and to me that's not a lot to see what he has and offers in the MMA world. It's just like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but you can also see that a lot of these guys, man, when they come up from these striking backgrounds, when they're doing a lot of this funky stuff that guys aren't getting in the gym or that I used to being able to see, they have a hard time figuring out what they needed to do. Israel was able to switch his stance multiple times and give Brad different looks, and he wasn't, couldn't figure out really fast what he needed to do. Was it he's kicking this way off the front leg, just like how Steve Wonder does. He's kicking this on the back leg when he's in this stance. He's throwing these punches from this angle. He throws this punch from this angle when he's in a different stance. And you can see Brad looking kind of confused at various portions of the fight, because when Israel would throw a combination, he would throw a combination and then land in the stance, the opposite stance that he started in, and then be able to start another combination and then move back to the other one. He wasn't really necessarily worried about, I throw a combination, oh, my right foot is forward now, let me switch back and go back to my orthodox stance. He was able to sit there, switch orthodox to southpaw, throw his spinning strikes. And a big thing is Israel's not known for this one-punch knockout power, which, in my opinion, is great. A lot of guys headhunt and go for the knockout all the time. Man, if you can sit there and slowly, methodically beat somebody down, beat them down until they quit. And Israel was attempting to do that with Brad Tavares, but Brad Tavares it's not going to go away that easily. If you weren't going to put him out there, put him out with a clean shot or submission or something like that, the ref was going to have to wait to fight off at the end of the 5th round, which is what he did. And we had to go to the judges' scorecards. But great performance by Israel Adesanya. He called out the winner of Paulo Costa and Uriah Hall. And that is interesting as well, because after being Brad Tavares, being ranked 8, we know that Israel is sliding into the top 10 fairly easily. Is he sliding straight to the 8th spot and Brad dropping down 1? Or is he just going to be given a top 10 spot and then somebody else slide down and Brad Tavares still ranked above him? The UFC rankings are kind of wonky like that. We don't really know what is going to happen at that point. But I do believe Paulo Costa versus Uriah Hall would be a very interesting fight. Uriah Hall will be a little bit more interesting just because of the comparison of styles. There won't be standing and trading. There won't be a lot of takedown attempts that will be happening. The same thing with Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa is going to stand and trade as well. He's not going to be looking for a lot of takedowns and things like that. And I think the interesting thing about Paulo Costa is I think he wants to take that O from him if he ends up beating Uriah Hall. And I think he wants to fight Uriah Hall because it is a great style matchup for the fans. And also because they're both fighting, just a day or so apart, because Uriah Hall and Paulo Costa fight tonight at UFC 226, Miocic versus Cormier. It gives him quick turnaround times, so he won't have to wait as long to actually fight an opponent or try to find an opponent. And both these guys are pretty much game. I believe if they both come out unscathed, maybe we'll get that fight in regards of around October, November time frame when the next time the UFC goes to MSG. Sliding down, we had Joe Giannetti versus Mike Trizano in the lightweight portion of the Ultimate Fighter, where Mike Trizano ended up getting the win over Joe Giannetti by split decision. This fight was not very fan-friendly, not very interesting at all. Mike Trizano, which is a good thing for him, he used his smarts in this fight. He knew he was giving up the height and reach advantage. And it also is on record that Joe Giannetti, when he wrestled in high school up until his senior year, he was 0-30 on the mat. So he's just probably not gifted as a natural wrestler per se, as people may think that a lot of these guys are. Just because you wrestle for a very long time doesn't mean that you're actually skilled in wrestling. You learn a little different things, but everybody's body types and builds, especially if he's fighting at 155, man, the guys at 155 high school wise are like short, stocky guys, being able to clamp down on them, where his reach would be a disadvantage. Except the thing is, the guys who are a little bit stronger with their length, they're able to clamp down with a lot of cradles and things like that, but that's on the wrestling side of things. So I think Mike Trizano probably watched a lot of his fights, saw that Joe Giannetti, he has really good uh, uh, ninja chokes, front chokes, when guys shoot in for him, for the doubles and the singles when they sit there and put their head on the chest. Mike Trizano making sure that he shot on his legs to where his head wasn't in danger. But when he took him down, he didn't really pretty much do anything with Joe Giannetti. He just kind of like tried to hold him there, did just enough for the ref not to allow them to stand back up. And he just rinsed, washed, and repeated over and over and over again. Um, and it is important to note that when he won, Mike Trizano, that is, Dana White did not hand the trophy over to um, to Mike Trizano, which is, a sign of Dana White not liking how the fight went, not liking the results at all, because he wants these guys to go out there and go for broke. But when you got to realize, man, these guys are fighting for their, careers. They're not going to sit out there and put themselves in any type of danger. They're going to try to just win the fight, and I don't think Dana still has realized that. Um, at first, these guys are willing to, stay in a trade for a little bit on the show, or a little bit when they are trying out for the show, but they are not going to do that where they can end up risk losing everything when they want that six-figure contract, which is not that great at all because it's about $100,000. The UFC gets you for about 5 or 6 fights for you being stuck at 10-10, which is why a lot of guys don't even end up staying in the Ultimate Fighter for long. After that, that was the co-main. Let's slide down and run through a couple of these a little bit faster. We had Brad Katona versus Joe Cuccinello, and Katona won by unanimous decision. He actually did the same thing, strapped on his wrestling shoes, went for the takedowns, pressed forward the whole time, landing strikes, try to pass guard, try to keep inflicting damage on Cuccinello the entire time for the fight. The only issues that you could see Brad Katona was having, this was a featherweight fight. He is a big, strong guy. If you look at him for the featherweight division, it'll be very interesting to watch what he does with his wrestling. He does have good striking. He did karate, I do believe, from a very young age. So he can always mix up his striking when he needs to. But when he was going for a lot of the takedowns, at first he was doing the takedowns from kickboxing range, just like I stated earlier. You don't want to do takedowns from kickboxing range. You learn in wrestling, if I can stick my hand out and I can touch you, that's when I need to do my shots. Shoot for my singles and my doubles and things like that. I don't need to be shooting so far away where it gives you so much time to react. You can do everything to counteract everything that I'm trying to do for you, trying to do against you, because you're able to see it, the level changes and things like that. I got to keep a hand in the guy's face and do everything you can with that forward pressure. For Brad Katona, looks like he's going to be a very game guy in the featherweight division. Want to see a couple more fights with him, see what he does well moving forward, see what he can, other things that he can improve on. And Joe Cuccinello, let's see if the UFC keeps him around. Joe Giannetti, going back to the previous fight, I believe the UFC will keep him around. Joe Giannetti, man, had a couple of slick submissions within the finals, on his way to the finals, and he's just a nasty guy, man. And they're not going to let Mike Trizano's wrestling going to discourage what they end up doing with him. Alex Caceres for Martin Bravo, rather. Alex Caceres won by split decision. Very fun fight. Actually, one fight of the night, which is, very expected with Alex Caceres' fights. Man, he comes to fight a very flashy style, very fan-friendly style of fighting. His record shows it. He's going out there to have fun. He's not going out there to really actually worry about his record. And with that, that's the reason why the UFC, keeps him around. They don't want to just get rid of a guy like that. He dropped Martin Bravo a couple times, man, with some good straight right hands, which means that Alex is working on his power, his placement of his shots a little bit better. Martin Bravo had his moments too in the fight, um, landing a couple good shots and securing a couple good takedowns, trying to advance. Um, this was a very fun fight. It was deserving of fight of the night. As soon as that fight was over, I pretty much knew that was going to be it, because I thought from the rest of the card up that they were just going to be looking at some type of finishes uh, or just a really good chess match between Brad Tavares and Adesanya. And so let's go down. Roxanne Modafferi versus Bob Honchak. Uh, Roxanne got it done by TKO in the second round. She got the full mount and started raining out elbows. At first, it looked like the ref was telling Roxanne that she needed to stop and watch the placement of her elbows, because a lot of the elbows looked like they were landing on the top of Bob Honchak's head. But then after a while, if you sat there and paid attention, man, Barb Honchak wasn't really doing much to move. She is older. She is almost 40. She wasn't doing much to move at all. She's kind of just stayed right there, and I think that she was giving up the back of her head solely because she was thinking that the ref would have to stand him up for the illegal strikes on the ground. She didn't try to place a hand on the hip, didn't shrimp, didn't do anything. Roxanne did have a very good high mount. Was able to control the position up until she ended up getting a stoppage. Another fight that looked like it was worthy of possibly fight of the night was Alex Teixeira versus Julian Marquez. Teixeira won by split decision. Julian Marquez also, just to make a note, he did miss weight for this fight. He weighed in at 190 pounds. Teixeira, which is I am probably saying his name completely wrong, he did make a comment about it during his post-fight interview, saying that Julian was a true middleweight, but he just ate too much. And both these guys were going at it. I thought Julian Marquez was going to get the win. As you can see, it was a split. It could have went either way depending on how these judges were reviewing the fight. Teixeira got tagged a couple of good times, but he was also the busier fighter, landing more shots more often, getting a lot of the takedowns whenever time he shot and went for him, which is surprising. I didn't think that he had that in the bag, but he probably watched previous Marquez fights and then knew how hard he hit, and especially after he got hit and rocked a couple times, that's when he attempted to go down, shoot for the takedown, and Marquez showed a lot of good things when he was on the ground. When he did get taken down, there was a lot of times that he was able to use a butterfly hook, being able to get his hips to one side, elevate with that hook, and be able to get back to his feet. There was a time, same thing that Israel Adesanya used, where he was able to get the Kimura sweep position and being able to sweep from the Kimura and be able to go back to his feet, which lets people know, like I'm saying, just because these guys are big, strikers, have some really good power in their punches, they're working on a lot of different things at the same time. They're not just out there hoping that one style is going to get a job for them, done for them. They know that there's other things that they need to do to different things that they're trying to do. Great fight. Interesting to see where both these guys go in the middleweight division. Teixeira, I believe this is his second win in a row. Marquez, this is his first loss in the UFC. So step down in competition probably isn't needed much for him because it was a close fight. But you put him in there with another striker who isn't looking for a takedown, and we'll see what happens with there. Who's going to go to sleep first? Let's see here. Montana De La Rosa versus Rachel Ostovich. Montana won by a rear naked choke within the third round. I believe Rachel Ostovich was winning the fight up until she decided to press forward really fast and initiate the clinch, something that I would have not had her do. She was tagging Montana fairly easily on the feet. She was causing a lot of damage. Montana was able to do the same thing for the most part in regards of the range battle. She was able, when she was stayed at range, she was able to land, but when she got too close, Rachel was able to land a lot of good shots on her. But, you know, when you chase the finish, you typically get finished yourself, uh, depending on the level of your opponent you're going against. And that's ended up what happened with Rachel, because with the height advantage that Montana did, you know, Rachel came in, went hard for this armbar attempt, ended up being getting the position reversed on her. Montana was able to stretch her out with her reach and her length overall, and then it was all but over when she ended up sinking in that rear naked choke, and she tapped and quickly go over. There's some other fights that happened on the. There was a rear naked choke by Gerald Marchette, Oscar Pachoya, um, which is I thought was going to happen. Gerald had really good wrestling, and he was going to be able to get it done. He took that O from Oscar Pachoya. That was on the UFC Fight Pass prelims. Um, and not really much else worth covering on the Fight Pass prelims, but these last few fights we're going to cover that was still on FS1. Because time is getting short here for myself. As we had Luis Pena versus Ricky Smolin. Luis Pena is the real deal, man. It would have been really interesting to see him fight Joe Giannetti in the finals of the lightweight portion of the card. But Luis Pena, as people know, did get injured. Man, he is so tall, man. 6'3", to be fighting at 155 pounds, man. You know, that's amazing. You know, that's my height at 155 pounds, man, with all that length and reach, and there's not much that anybody is able to do with that. And, you know, he got the job done in relatively short fashion, syncing up a guillotine. He switched to a bunch of different chokes, and then he ended up getting that guillotine, getting the win against Ricky Smolin. John Gunter versus Alex Zunga, the other two fighters that was on that card. I mean, on the TUF season this year. John Gunter won by split decision. He did the same thing, just, you know, tried to out wrestle Allen, and he did it fairly easily. He ended up getting the win with that, not much at all. He pretty much went for the takedown from the very beginning. He didn't stop until the end. And Tyler Diamond lost to Bryce Mitchell by majority decision. One judge ended up seeing it as a draw. I thought Tyler Diamond, with the full fight camp that he was getting, was going to be able to get the job done. He was the first pick. Bryce Mitchell was actually the second pick from Daniel Cormier. Both these guys were Team Cormier. I thought Tyler Diamond was better, and especially with his wrestling, and he ended up being taken down by the jiu-jitsu guy a lot more at will, and actually being controlled on the ground with certain positions, which was kind of amazing to me. But I think that is a problem that happens with a lot of these high-level wrestlers all the time. These high-level wrestlers end up going against guys who aren't scared of being taken down and aren't scared to go for takedowns against them. So they have literally no response off their back. You see this a lot with Sarah McMahon when Sarah McMahon fights different guys. Or not guys, but gals. When she fights different gals, when they get the takedown on her, she looks like a fish out of water when she's on her back. And that could be due to all the years of high-level wrestling and not actually being taken down and not understanding how to get up. Or it could just be a panic moment type thing for her when it happens to her. Same thing could have happened to Tyler when he got taken down, put on his back, and they weren't doing the same type of wrestling rides. They're doing more jiu-jitsu rides, and that's things he's not used to. But thank for everybody who's going to check this out. Appreciate it. And this is how you become legendary, and greatness is earned. Oh, one quick moment as well. Make sure to check out UFC 226 tonight. Check out the YouTube said, greatness is earned.